can Penn State in 2025 win the national championship? Zach, they have a number of players returning. They have Drew Allar, Nick Singleton, Kaytron Allen, Dani Dennis-Sutton, Zane Durant, Nick Dawkins, the center from this past year. Wheatley, the safety, is coming back. They've also lost a number of guys. Wormley just declared earlier before he came or before we came on. There, Abdul Carter. He went to the league, and then you've also lost a couple of wide receivers. Harrison Wallace is in the transfer portal. Amari Evans, I believe is his name. I'm getting confused with Amari Kelly. I think he's a transfer that went to Michigan State.
Yeah.
But Evans, I think he was the wide receiver, the really speedy guy.
Yep, he's in the portal. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, Julian Fleming, he's run out of eligibility, so he won't be able to come back for Penn State. So you're seeing this exodus from the wide receiver position, but you're also seeing the quarterback, the running backs, and offensive linemen, the defensive line coming back for next year. Is Penn State loading up similar to how Michigan did in 2023 and how Ohio State did in 2024? Is it Penn State's time to load up and make a national championship run, Zach?
Not unless they get some more key pieces. I think they're loaded up for a run for the Big Ten and to win the Big Ten championship game. But I think to win a national championship, you've got to be a team that can win in multiple ways. And I think we've seen that with Ohio State. We've seen that with Notre Dame. The reality with Penn State is they are not explosive in the throw game. And listen, Hudson is a fine wide receiver coming in, but they're losing their best tight end. I know Dinkins they're high on, but they're losing Tyler Warren. They're losing Amari Evans, who I thought came on a bit as a deep play guy. But I think part of it too is I really expected Drew Allar to be better than he was. And I think we both thought that he had improved quite a bit. But at the end of the day, seeing him against a really good defense against Notre Dame, I was left underwhelmed. And I just look at the returning cast and I'm like, I think they have the right idea, but I just don't believe they can beat you in multiple ways. And to me, I think they will be, again, a top 5 to 8 team. I think they can win the Big Ten because I think in a one-off, I think they can win the game. But I think if you're saying, hey, they're going to win 3 or 4 playoff games against top 8 teams in succession, I don't think they're built for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they are right now either, but I also look back at the Michigan team. I also look back at this Ohio State team. They had holes as well. It wasn't a finished product just by the guys coming back, right? Ohio State needed to go out and get a quarterback. They needed to go out and get another running back. They were able to get Will Howard. They were able to get Quinshon Judkins. I guess for me, the biggest thing is, like, is Penn State going to rally enough of the NIL for them to get the wide receivers that they need, for them to get the safeties to replace Kevin Winston and Jalen Reed? Wheatley obviously, comes in as a good returner. He had a good year this year coming in to replace Kevin Winston Jr., but they're going to need somebody back there with them. Are they going to be able to get the linebackers? So there are still holes on this team, but you ask me, like, Dani Dennis-Sutton is a really good defensive end. Zane Durant is a really good defensive tackle. Like, you have the stars to make a run for a national championship. The question is, are you going to find the players to go around them? And then also, Zach, you and I alluded to this a little bit when we were going through the Penn State Notre Dame game, but do they also have the coaches? Because right now, I looked up their entire coaching staff, Zach. Nobody on their coaching staff currently has any NFL coaching experience. Nobody. Obviously, the NFL is not the end-all, be-all, but I think in order to do things in a more professional way, which I think it's going to take professionalism for these teams to win in college football, to win it all more often than not. Obviously, there will be times when it doesn't happen, but more often than not, you need that professionalism. So if they're not going to have somebody on staff or a number of coaches on staff that have that NFL experience, obviously they have coaches who played in the NFL, but that coached in the NFL, I'm looking at that and saying this might not be the best situation, or not the best situation. This might not be a situation that is geared up and ready to win a national championship. Because what do we know about James Franklin? James Franklin loves to give guys chances. He loves to bring in young guys, put them on his staff, and have them go on and go elsewhere, which is awesome. I think that's great that James Franklin does that. But in a situation like this, Jim Harbaugh had a very experienced staff at Michigan when they won it all. Ohio State has a very experienced staff on their run to possibly win it all now, and with just one more game. I think you need more experienced guys, and I think you need some guys with NFL coaching experience as well.
Yeah. Well, and especially the format now, right? Like you have to, I think that's what has made Ohio State so dangerous is they were preparing back in the summer that what would a 16 or 17 game schedule be like for their players, which is why they went out and got Judkins, right? Because you didn't need another running back for a 12 game schedule. But for a 16 game schedule to keep Travion Henderson fresh, and we've seen how fresh both he and Judkins have been in this playoff run. So here's my other question, because I'm assuming Abdul Carter declared. And
yeah, he declared immediately after.
Yeah. And Tyler Warren is gone.
He ran out of eligibility, yes.
Yeah. My question, because I agree with you, like Dani Dennis-Sutton is really good. Zane Durant's really good. I think Singleton is one of the most explosive backs in the country. So as I ask this question, I'm not asking it from a point of ignorance that they do have some game breakers, but who is a guy that can really wreck a game plan on Penn State right now?
I mean, defensively, Dani Dennis-Sutton and Zane Durant.
But were they complementary pieces to Abdul Carter, or were they game wreckers in their own right?
I don't think so. I think in the run game, they were the better pieces. I think Abdul Carter was, one of the best pass rushers in all of college football, but I think he left a little bit to be desired in the run game, which, I mean, that often happens, and that's what the NFL wants. They want, specialized pass rushers more often than not. So I'm not knocking him by saying that. I'm just saying that's a player I believe he was in college. Who knows? Things might change when he gets to the NFL. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think Dani Dennis-Sutton is going to be that pass rushing level of Abdul Carter. But at the same time, he might be just as good as an overall player as Abdul Carter, well-rounded, if that makes sense.
But
they definitely don't have anybody on offense, though. They don't have a Tyler Warren on offense right now.
Yeah. I think that's I'm thinking back to Michigan in particular 2 years ago, and I'm like, the thing that set Michigan apart, insert cheating jokes. But in all seriousness, the thing that set Michigan apart from every other team was they had game wreckers everywhere. Like Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, I think Chris Jenkins. That's just your defensive tackle rotation. And they were monsters. And they had a fourth guy in that rotation too that I'm blanking on. You had Will Johnson as a corner. And you had other guys in that secondary who were just beasts. And then J.J. McCarthy, as much as we maligned him, like for what he could do at the quarterback position for Michigan, he was a game breaker. Blake Corum was really good, and like at times was a game breaker. Guys on that offensive line would just mash you and maul you. And what that did was then it gave other guys who were more role players, it elevated them. So guys like Roman Wilson, who is a very good receiver in his own right, but like he was never going to be like he's good. Cornelius Johnson's good. So my question, I think my thought is, do I think Penn State could get there? Yes. But I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I think what they're trying to do is great. I am just skeptical right now to put them in that same tier as 2023 Michigan and 2024 Ohio State. I think they're trying to follow the same blueprint, but like you need more. And Joe is talking about Luke Reynolds, who's going to take over for Tyler Warren. And I think great. Like I can always count on Penn State to have a great to elite tight end. Like they are just so good at producing at that position, but you need more than that. And I think that's my concern.
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to the tight end position here, but is a tight end really a game wrecker?
Oh, it can be. I mean, this is going NFL, but Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce, sure. I guess my point would be there's not that many tight ends that are game wreckers. Tyler Warren obviously was exceptional, an elite tight end, best tight end in the country in my mind. But I like to just expect another guy like Tyler Warren's don't just grow on trees. Like I get what you're saying here, Joe, that Luke Reynolds was just as good. And John's pointing out Brock Bowers, but like those guys don't just grow on trees. Those guys they are generational talents in a lot of ways. Luke Reynolds might end up being just as good as Tyler Warren. It's obviously possible, but sometimes I think we have a player on our team and we think, oh, the coaching staff produced this player, so they can produce another one just like him. And it's like they might be able to, but there's also a lot more that goes into it than just development. There's mentality, there's physical gifts, and everything else. Like you look at Colson Loveland this past year at Michigan. Going into the year, everybody said, oh yeah, Marlon Klein is just as good as Colson Loveland. He's very athletic, but he didn't have the experience of Colson Loveland. He didn't have the same production as Colson Loveland. And when Colson Loveland went down, that production didn't increase to the Colson Loveland level. So, but I see what you're saying, Joe. I'm not trying to disregard what you're saying. I'm just, to me, it takes a very, very special player to be a game wrecker at tight end. One of the best players in the country, if not the best player in the country. And that's hard.
I was going to say, and to be fair to Joe, he's not arguing that the tight end, like having the tight end.
No, I know. That's where we were coming from.
Yeah.
He also asked if Wallace declared. I don't think we said he declared it. He went to the portal.
Portal. Yeah.
And Wallace is not worth $1 million. If he thinks he's getting that, he's crazy. OSU is the only team that proved they can win it all with a store-bought team this year. PSU was impressive. I think only Franklin can pull it off. Ohio State didn't have the most expensive team in the country, though, and the two other more expensive teams they beat. So, I think obviously spent $20 million. That's a lot.
Yeah, but I think people. And first of all, I think what Penn State did accomplish this year and what they're trying to do for next year, it's great. Like, and so me saying, they should be doing. They should be doing it. By me saying no, I'm giving my honest thought and analysis. But I think they're going to be formidable. Like, I think they are the favorite right now heading into the Big Ten for the conference. I think Oregon, Ohio State, is obviously going to be in there.
Did you know their win total is only 9.5 right now?
Penn State
right now on FanDuel has the same win total as Michigan did this past year.
There's more that I'd love to break down because right now Ohio State's the favorite for next year, and I don't buy that at all. But I do want to say something about the store-bought because it comes up a lot, and the reality is, yes, they certainly paid money for some of those guys, but a lot of that was for player retention. And like they cherry picked a few great players, and part of that was getting Jeremiah Smith to commit. That wasn't just money though. Like that was, I think, the chance to work with Brian Hartline. But like you're talking about retaining guys like Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. And we saw the play that Jack Sawyer made to win the Texas game. And so you're trying to retain talent and keep a culture together and take care of your guys. It's not just going out and spending $5 million in Caleb Downs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a narrative out there that Ohio State bought their entire roster from the transfer portal. If you say that, I just know that you don't pay attention to, all of college football, which is fine. Not everybody does. But, they got 7 guys out of the portal. Not even all of them are starting this year. And the majority of their money, as you said, and Michael is pointing out here that, was spent on player retention, which, I mean, people want to crap on it, but I'm like, this is what NIL should be, right? Like, don't we want to be keeping great players in college football? Don't we want to be seeing more talent, more ability? Like, I think it's probably one of the reasons why we saw better defense this season than we saw offense, because there are so many more offensive players drafted at the beginning of the draft when you make more money. So obviously those offensive players are going to leave sooner. Now you have a bunch of defensive players that are like, well, I wasn't going to get drafted to the second round. I can make almost as much money as I was going to make drafted in the second round in college. So they stick around, which,
it's good.
Again, we should want that. But that's just me. Maybe other people don't want it. Or maybe they only want it for their team. They don't want it for other teams. That's probably more accurate.